Welcome everyone to another episode of Game Vortex, and today we're going to be talking about racing games. In fact, we're going to be talking about Gran Turismo Sport. Now, this game, Gran Turismo Sport, it was announced during Paris Games Week last year, which in fact was exactly the anniversary, 100th anniversary of the first motorsport race when it became an actual sport. So today we're going to be talking exactly about that. Gran Turismo Sport, the trailer's been out. Last year there was a trailer, but a couple of days ago we had an event in London and we got a proper trailer of Gran Turismo Sport. So I'm just going to play it in the background. Obviously I switched off the music because it started to get really annoying. It's the same song they used in the very first trailer that we've seen, and it's the same song they've used during Dubai's jetpack flyover that you can also find on the YouTube. Regardless of that, now Gran Turismo Sport. I've been quite a big fan of Gran Turismo. I started playing Gran Turismo 2 and then 3, and then I bought the fourth one on the PS2. I loved that one in particular, the Gran Turismo 4. Prologue was pretty crap, but then again, it was free, right? And then we moved to Gran Turismo 5, and it took them so long to develop that game, so long that by the time it actually came out, people just probably lost the interest and it didn't really perform that well, to be honest. But it's important to remember that Gran Turismo in general is the Sony's biggest selling franchise up to now. I mean, the last statistics that I've heard, it was over 60-70 million copies sold in total. I mean, I'm talking about all the Gran Turismo franchise. So now I'm just rolling the trailer, I'm talking about it, and I'm going to go into a bit more detail in a bit. Now, the problem with Gran Turismo is that from the prologue to 5, it took them so long to develop the game. It was really, really bad in terms of people were expecting a lot and sooner than it actually came out. And then from Gran Turismo 5 to 6, the jump was actually shorter because they reused most of the assets and things like that. And the thing is, the PS4 was out by then, but they still released it on the PS3 only. And of course I understand their decision in terms of at that time there were 80 million PS3s out there compared to maybe 2-3 million of PS4s. So it wasn't really a viable market for them to release the game because they'll never make their money back. Even though people really wanted the next gen Gran Turismo, they decided to stick to an old platform. And I think many people don't like GT6 just because it came out on the PS3 instead of the next gen. But in my opinion, they introduced the new lighting and the sky and all that other stuff. But most important, they introduced the new suspension model, which was actually miles better than was in Gran Turismo 5. They also said during that time that the engine that they've used can be modified and ported onto PlayStation 4 without any issues or without any problems. And I think this is the reason why we're starting to see Gran Turismo Sport now. Okay, because the engine could be ported, you can actually notice that. I mean, I'm not saying that it's a PS3 looking game, no stretch imagination, it isn't, but there are some parts of this game that looks just amazing. And there are some parts that look really, really bad. So, in general, let's talk about Gran Turismo now, Sport in this particular matter. Now, people ask me, do you think this is Gran Turismo 7? Do you think this is Gran Turismo 7? I think that this isn't a Gran Turismo 7. I think this is not a prologue as well, but I think it's just a special thing that they wanted to get out of the way right now while they still can, to be honest. While they still can. Because if they take another 4 or 5 years to develop another Gran Turismo, because it takes really long time for them, then people are going to get really pissed off. At the moment, there aren't many racing games out there. I mean, there is, of course, Dirt, and there's all the other games like Drive Club. Okay, Drive Club is no more. I mean, the game technically exists and it's going to be supported, but what really matters here is that Drive Club, the developer, the studio was just dissolved because of the launch that they had. The launch was just horrendous. I mean, they delayed the game for 1 year and then they released it, and it was fucking broken. The online was broken for the first 6 months. You couldn't even play online properly. I mean, now it's a great game and I enjoy playing Drive Club, and thinks it looks amazing. Better than Gran Turismo Sport, maybe in some way, the weather effects and the cockpit view and things like that. Now, having said that, let's actually go through this trailer again, and I'll just comment on a few things that I think that are great and some things that probably aren't. So, I mean, Polyphony Digital is a weird company. I mean, they have a good vision behind them and they have a good heritage, but they just can't seem to fully deliver on the promise of bringing the next gen Gran Turismo. Now, this is what we've seen here is obviously a BMW M4 Coupe just driving around, and Alfa Romeo. Other cars, I mean, it just shows off basically. Probably there's going to be some kind of a highlight mode. This is not something that you can see in real time when you're actually racing, but okay, we got a few things. Now, let's stop here for a second. Now we see pretty much, I guess this is Tokyo. I've been there before. Looks like Tokyo. I mean, it looks alright. The buildings look alright, but then again, it's not a GTA or anything, so we don't need photorealistic graphics on the buildings, because if you're racing, the last thing you're going to be looking around is how realistic the windows and the buildings and the billboards look. So that's not really a big deal, but I mean, the road in general, the motorway looks amazing. This is definitely Tokyo. I've seen that building before. I was there in October last time. Now here we go, we're racing on the track, right? And everything seems to be fine. Apart from the trees still look like it's a 2D models, just the same rehashed models from the previous games. And I wish they would have done a bit more with that. The road looks good, but when in motion it kind of starts to look a bit weird. And the most important thing that I noticed here, considering that it's running on the PS4 and it looks really good, over here one of the cars is gonna slide out onto the grass, but there won't be any particle effects at all. It's like it's just still on the tarmac. Yeah, it's sliding, but like you can see it right now, one of the cars is gonna slide. Oh, okay, the smoke is quite realistic, it's nice. Here they are racing, and then whoom, one of the cars just goes over the grass and nothing happens. It's like, what is this surface? It just goes there like butter, and then there aren't any skid marks, there aren't any marks in the ground, there's nothing. This is something that's a bit bothering me. You could have put a bit more effort into that, to be honest. I mean, I want to see Gran Turismo in a full glory on the PS4, and they can do that, but for some reason they decided not to. Also, previously you've seen a racetrack full of trucks and lorries that deliver the cars there. They look a bit underwhelming, to be honest. But then again, you're not going to be looking at that. I'm pretty sure they're focusing on the things that you're actually going to notice while you're racing. The tracks list is pretty good. I love the Japan. You have like Shibuya Crossing and everything else there, which is pretty good. Now, obviously, this thing is a photo mode. They had a photo mode of Drive Club, but I think this takes it to a whole new level where you'll be able to actually choose the location, the setting, the time of the day, the cars that you want to put there, in which position you want to put them, and then of course all the other things like aperture and other things, just to make things look more realistic. And the photos, to be honest, look amazing, because obviously they are rendered. Once you take a photo, it's being rendered on a PS4, and then boom, comes out a nice image the same way as it is on the Drive Club. I think this is going to be probably the best feature of the game. People are going to be posting amazing photos and stuff. I'm actually more excited for the actual game at the moment. Now we know that they partnered with FIA, which means that everything you do in the game, online obviously, not offline, will count towards your career, which you can actually, like, if you're really, really fucking good in the game, which most of us won't be, you can actually get a proper racing license like they did with GT Academy, and you can actually race on a real track with other people in a real car. That's the most amazing part, but of course there's going to be far and few between people that can actually achieve that. I'm not one of those people who's going to invest into a fucking cabinet and the wheels and the pedals and everything. I mean, I've got the wheels and the pedals, but I don't do the setups that some of the people just do right now. There we go, like, we're here looking at all this stuff. I mean, from the top it looks pretty alright, I guess, but it remains to be seen how it all looks up close, because we can't really tell that this is like a real-time footage. And I've seen the real-time footage that's been out with the Ferrari driving around the track and the Mazda, and I'm very disappointed in the engine sound. It's been fucking 3 games already, and they still sound like it's a fucking Henry Hoover working. Like, regardless if you're driving a fucking V8 or V12 or just a normal, like a 2, 3, 4 fucking cylinder cars, it all sounds so dull. I mean, I know that it's never been a strong point for Gran Turismo, but in 3 fucking generation of games you can actually invest some money, get some fucking sound engineers, the same ones that were working on fucking Drive Club, and get the sound in there, because this is not acceptable already at this point. I mean, I'm afraid that sooner or later they're gonna go down the same way as Evolution Studios. They're gonna close them fucking down if it doesn't sell. But there isn't anything else available on the PS4, obviously, apart from the other racing games, and there are just a few there. I mean, well, Grid is not really on PS4. Then you have Drive Club, right? And the one that came out on PC, I keep forgetting the game. It's PC and PS4 and Xbox One. Like, I mean, in general, the game looks okay. The game looks good, I'd say. I mean, I'm gonna buy it anyway. The customization options look pretty good, much better than Drive Club. And I mean, I know that the Gran Turismo is really hardcore for tuning the cars. You can tune your suspension, and you can tune the weight and everything, and like the turbo, the torque and everything. Like, this is the best part about it. I'm not sure if this is gonna be integrated into, like it was in Gran Turismo 5 and 6, if it's gonna be integrated in the same way, because this game is heavily relied on online. There's still gonna be an offline component, but I'm not sure how that's gonna translate into actual online play. Probably it will be there, because I mean, as long as you're tuning your car, that's up to you to tune what you want, the specific parts of the car, as long as everybody have the same thing. It's not like somebody's gonna be cheating and having better specs on the car or anything like that. So in the end, what can we say about Gran Turismo Sport? I mean, I'm excited. I don't think this is Gran Turismo 7. I think this is something that they needed to release to show that they're still alive and well, and they're actually doing something. I think it can be an ambitious project. I don't think it will have too much traction, just because that a lot of people have doubts that they can actually achieve anything in Gran Turismo Sport to become a professional racing driver. So this is definitely a good way to introduce some more driving, especially sims, right? Driving sims to the PlayStation 4, because there isn't anything apart from Drive Club and another game there. Am I excited? Yes, I am. Am I worried? Yes, I am as well, because Polyphony Digital recently has been very, very slow and very, very quiet, and at some points very, very lazy. Now, I've got some details here about the game. They said that they're gonna have about more than 130 cars, or 140, something like that. So it's less than it was in Gran Turismo 5 and 6, but of course I've never driven all of them, to be honest, because most of them are shit. Most of them in Gran Turismo 5 and 6 were just rehashed models from PlayStation 2 that's been slightly tweaked to look a bit better. The dash looks like shit, or it just doesn't exist, it's just a fucking black panel. I would say that the Drive Club dashboard looks miles better than Gran Turismo 5 or 6. And I'm talking about even the premium cars. When you take the premium cars, which has been modeled properly, the dash there looks kind of like it's been fucking like just a picture, a 2D picture, just kind of wrapped around the model, and it's not interactive. It doesn't show anything, like apart of the speedometer, tachometer, and all this stuff. I think the Drive Club did a much better job in actually representing the cockpit of the car. Having said that, I hope that this will be much better. And looking at all those previews that we've seen when in the previous trailer, when they're actually showing that the cars will have like proper dash and everything rendered in full 3D. You also must not forget, this is something that not many people know, but it's pretty much been confirmed that Gran Turismo Sport will work in VR, in PlayStation VR. And I think this is one of the main reasons that the PlayStation VR and Gran Turismo coming out almost at the same time I think I've heard somewhere that Sony said that the GT Sport will actually support VR, and I think that one of the main things that we will be excited about, because I've tried Drive Club in VR once. It was a demo. It was fucking amazing. Like, it was amazing. And this game, they're aiming at 1080p, 60 frames per second. In VR, you obviously need to have 120 for each i60. Plus, I mean, when you're using the VR and the driving game, it's just an amazing feeling that your body keeps shifting when you think you're gonna turn, and it's really great, and I want people to experience that. And I think some of the low-res textures that we're seeing is there for a reason, because they want to make sure this game works properly in VR. You don't want it to run like shit when you're racing at 200 miles an hour on the track. Another thing that was very interesting in the details, I found that they've said that the photo mode and another mode that is in the game will output in 4K. In 4K. Now, we need to remember that PlayStation 4 does not support 4K unless for a video format and multimedia, which I think this is going to work as well, because that's just pictures. But then that hints as well at this thing that we talked about before, PlayStation Neo. PlayStation Neo is supposed to be not running natively 4K, but upscaling games to 4K. I don't think they'll be able to achieve 4K at $400, $500, $600, $700 hardware. The reason, like, even if you take the GeForce 1080 that just came out, I mean, I've watched the Engadget reviews, and they say in 4K they can get a maximum of like 45 to 50 frames per second in the most popular games like Witcher 3. So even that, and that costs $500 on its own, and then you have a console that needs other parts as well. There isn't any hardware on the market now, unless you invest thousands of dollars, to run 4K natively at 60 frames per second. I mean, heck, PlayStation Neo won't be able to do 30 frames per second. I'm pretty sure about that. I mean, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I'm pretty sure what we're gonna be playing on the PS Neo, or whatever the fuck it's gonna be called, is upscaled version. So they're gonna do 1080p, 60 frames per second, and then they're gonna have a special scaler there, which I think this is the deal, the main deal there, and it's gonna upscale the games to 4K. So what I wanted to ask you, guys, girls, boys, anyone who's watching this channel, what do you think about Gran Turismo Sport? Do you like the premise? Do you like the game? Do you like the graphics? And what do you actually expect from the game? Do you like the idea that now you can compete against real drivers and earn real things that actually can get you the real racing license? And maybe, just maybe, if you work hard enough, you might be able to actually participate in a real tournament later on and become a real racing driver. I mean, this is obviously an exciting thing, but there are people who invest thousands of dollars plus they're talented. Second, I mean, they spend hundreds of hours in the games, which I don't have the luxury to do, and I'm just gonna play it just for myself, because I really miss driving games, because there's been far and few between on PlayStation 4. I mean, even on the PC there haven't been that many. Forza, yeah. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe to the channels, leave your comments below. I always reply to anyone who's actually posting any comments. I just started, and I apologize for the quality and everything else. It took me about an hour to get this whole fucking thing working today, and it's getting late. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll hope to see you on the next episode of Game Vortex. I'm Vitali, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.